Hello everyone and welcome to my very first YouTube video. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you're new, my name is Jaclyn. If you would like to be a part of our growing family, go ahead and hit that subscribe button along with the bell so you know every time I post. I don't want to keep you guys here too long, so let's get into the tutorial. Alright, so I went ahead and did my eyebrows off camera. I'm just going to moisturize my face, prime my skin. I'm going to use this Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream to moisturize my face first. Having moisturized skin before you put all of your products on top is going to make not only your makeup last longer, but it's going to make it look a lot more airbrushed and not as like flaky and dry. I don't necessarily get dry, but I still want to put this on so it looks very smooth. So now I'm going to take my Too Faced Hangover Primer Setting Spray, and I'm just going to spray this all over my face. This is just going to add a little bit more moisture to my face than what I already had. I'm going to take my beauty sponge, and I'm just going to tap that in, because the beauty sponge will pick up any of the excess spray that is going to like kind of take a while to dry. It's really going to push that into the skin instead of letting it just sit on top. Alright, so now that this is sat on my face, I'm going to go ahead and take foundation. I'm going to start with this Wet n Wild Photofocus foundation in the shade Nude Ivory. This is a little bit too light for me right now, so I'm also going to mix in the Milani Conceal and Perfect in the shade Light Beige. This is more of the one that I use when I'm really tan, but they're both full coverage. You want to make sure that before you mix any foundations together that you try it either on your hand before doing your makeup or like on a little plate or something, just to make sure that the two foundations are going to mix and they're not going to separate. A lot of foundations aren't necessarily made to be mixed together, and you don't want to end up having it separating on your face throughout the day while you're wearing it. So I'm just going to take a little bit on the back of my hand, and then I'm going to go ahead and squirt this Milani on it. Just a little bit. I'm just going to take the end of a little brush and mix these two together. Before I go in with my foundation, I'm just going to take that same primer spray and just spray it a little bit. And I'm going to take Fix Plus and just do one quick spray on that as well. Since those two sprays are a little bit tacky together, it's going to help to really have this foundation stick to my skin. You don't necessarily need this step, especially since we already sprayed the skin. But in my opinion, this is just what looks best on my skin in particular. So notice I'm trying to put on a really thin layer right now. You can still see these are very high coverage foundations, but they're meant to be built up. You can still see a lot of my scarring on my cheek area right here, but I don't want to go in and pack on a ton of foundation. At that point, it's just going to look cakey. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build it up a little bit, and then I'm going to take a full coverage concealer and go over top of the areas just specifically where I need. So now that the foundation is completely done, I'm going to go in with concealer. I'm going to be using the Tarte Shape Tape in the shade Porcelain Beige and the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer in Ivory. So with these two concealers, I'm only going to specifically go underneath my eyes. I'm not going to cover up any of the imperfections peeking through the foundation with a light concealer because I don't want to draw any attention to them. So instead, I'm going to go in later with a concealer that's pretty close to my foundation shade. I'm taking the darker of the two concealers as well and putting it on my T-zone and up here and on my chin. I don't want to look super washed out just in the middle of my face. And for my face shape specifically, my concealer looks a lot better if I kind of wing it up, following the shape of my eye and kind of doing a cat eye effect. I'm going to bring this concealer up onto my nose, but not completely to the bridge. This is going to help later when I do my nose contour. Now when I get to this very top area, you can see there's a difference between the concealer and the foundation. I'm going to take this little brush right here, and I'm just going to kind of sweep it. I found that if you do this with the Beauty Blender, it's just going to keep bringing the concealer up onto your temple. Instead, this is just going to blend the line in between without pulling that concealer completely up over your temple. I'm going to do that same thing coming into my eye. I just don't want that harsh line there, but I'm going to go back in with concealer on my eyelid later when I do my eyeshadow. I'm going to make sure to pull that concealer that I had down the bridge of my nose up in between my eyebrows because I don't want it to look like there's just a small portion of just foundation and then both of the concealer spots. I'm also going to pull that concealer that was down on my chin up onto the sides of my mouth. Just going over and buffing that all in to make sure everything is blended together pretty seamlessly. Alright, so now we're going to work on the problem spots that I have right here. So for this, I'm going to be taking the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot and a little flat brush. I'm just going to dip in with a small amount of product. And I'm just going to begin to slowly pack that on the areas where I want it. I'm going to wipe off the product onto my wrist just so I can get it to where it's not going to continue to pack. And I'm going to buff out the edges around the problem areas that I had. I like to do this instead of taking a beauty blender and just going ahead and tapping it because it's going to remove the product off of the area where I want to keep it. So just blending it this way, staying away from the direct spot, it's going to keep the coverage full while not looking cakey. Okay, so at this point in the video, my camera cut out and I wasn't able to record what I was doing. But all I did was powder my face and begin to bronze. All the products that I used are going to be linked in the description. Okay, so I'm just going to take this first shade in the palette. It's called Canvas on an M532. I'm just going to tap it off. And I'm just going to put that right in my crease. It's pretty similar to the shade of concealer and powder that I use. So not a lot is going to come up. But I just like to lay this down just to make sure that there's a lot of coverage in my crease. A lot of the time when I go in with a lot of different colors, the pigmentation on my right eye won't come up if there's not a firm base laid down before that. So I'm going to pull out my Jaclyn Hill palette, just the original Morphe x Jaclyn Hill palette. I go in with these two shades right here, this one and this one. I'm just going to mix them together and I'm going to put those two in my crease as well. I'm not going to bring those up super high. I'm just going to keep them really low. Alright, so now I'm going to go in with this middle shade right here. The shade's called Pukey. That's the only one out of this entire palette that I know by heart because I've seen Jaclyn Hill use it so many times. But I'm just going to put that right on the outer corner and on the outer crease. And then I'm going to wing it out just a little bit. For my eye shape specifically, that cat eye effect is what looks the most natural since my eye curves up a little bit. Going back into the James Charles palette, I'm going to take this gold metallic shade right here. I'm going to put it on this little packing brush, and then I'm going to spray it with Fix Plus. I'm just going to pack that from the center of my eye over, not completely into the inner corner, but stopping right before that. So now I'm going to go back in with that M532 and just go all around my outer corner and the crease, just buffing the edges of that gold shade, but not going completely into it. This is just going to make sure that the edges are all blended out and it doesn't look like we just threw that shadow on and just left it there to die. I'm going to take the Becca Champagne Pop on a clean packing brush. I'm just going to get a little bit on there and I'm going to highlight my brow bone and my inner corner. Now that that is on there, I'm going to go ahead and spray my face with the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. This is my favorite setting spray by far over anything. Now that that is completely dry, I'm going to take that Champagne Pop on this M510 brush. It's just a little highlighting brush. A little bit on my forehead and a little bit on my chin. And then I'm going to take a little small fluffy brush and pick up the highlight. I'm just going to bring it down the center of my nose just a little bit and then pop it just on the middle of my nose. If you take it on a big brush like how I used to put it up here, it's going to highlight the entire bridge of your nose and make it look like your nose is an inch thick. And we don't want that because that's not cute. I'm going to go in with my Clinique bronzer again and just a little packing brush. Go down the sides of my nose just a little bit. I'm going to almost connect it to my brow. I'm just going to bring it down a little bit and start to blend it out. Alright, so now that the face is completely done, I just added a little bit of black liner into my waterline. And now we're going to get ready for lashes. So first, I'm just going to curl my lashes and apply mascara. I'm going to be using the Voluminous Lash Paradise by L'Oreal. Alright, so these are my favorite lashes of all time. They're the Ardell Wispies. These ones are already used and they're cut right to my eye shape. These are my favorite though because they're very long and voluminous, but they really complement the cat eye that I have. So I'm just going to take the glue and put it on the band. I'm going to let that get tacky really quick. And I'm going to place it as close to the lash line as I can. So now that both of my lashes are on, I'm just going to take that same mascara and go through them just so I can blend my real lashes in with the fake ones. Alright, this is the completed look. I hope you guys enjoyed. All the products that I used are going to be linked in the description below along with all my social medias. So don't forget to subscribe, follow me on all my social medias, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!